Hello everybody, this is Bitcoin Macro, and on this video guys I'm gonna talk about the most recent listings on Coinbase Pro of Chiliz, SHIBA INU and KEaNu. So on this video guys I'm gonna go through the technicals and the fundamentals of these projects because there are some very interesting stuff going on, at least with KEaNu, because it's something I've mentioned before. To be honest, I was expecting at some point KEaNu to be listed on Coinbase, although I didn't really expect SHIBA INU to be listed on Coinbase. That's a very interesting addition, to be honest. But overall, I do think that these are decent projects, especially Chiliz, and there are some things to talk about it as well, especially now that we have the Euro going on, which is a major sporting event, and Chiliz is all about, football teams and in general sports and entertainment on the blockchain, because they have their own platform, they have their own little exchange where people can exchange team tokens and other stuff. Those teams don't have to be like only football teams, because they have some esports teams as well, and it's very interesting. Now, those tokens actually are not like stocks. They aren't exactly just tokens alone either, because they have some very interesting perks, but the prices are moving up and down. I don't know how healthy that is, to be honest, because I don't really know how much people can gain from those tokens if they actually hold them, or if those movements and the valuations are purely speculative. I don't know if there is actually a price floor based on how many things people can do with them, but nonetheless this is a very interesting initiative, which in my opinion kind of brings even more people into the crypto sphere, into the crypto space, because a lot of the people that are interested into sports, especially esports, and with the younger generations growing up in the internet world, on the internet world, there are going to be more and more people wanting to own something, because most of them, they're probably not going to own stocks. Maybe even this platform actually tokenizes stocks as well, like we have seen FTX do. It's actually possible, in my opinion, and that would be very interesting, because this would be an interesting way to bring even more liquidity and attention for all these fans, because again, many people are watching stuff online anyways, regardless of whether that is esports or actual sports, and they want to contribute to the teams, they want to feel part of stuff, they also want to get exclusive deals and extra perks from the things that they do. So in my opinion, this is a great platform. Now let's have a look at the price currently. I'm going to start with the Bitcoin price, because this is looking very interesting to me. At least this chart was one I was shilling back when it was about 50 sats back then, because it had that massive accumulation zone, because it was just going sideways for about a year and a half. So whenever I see something like that, I always get excited. It's always something that I'm looking at. It does look a little bit like Matic, in my opinion, at least. They did look very similar back then. And once it broke the 180 200 satoshis barrier, essentially, especially when it kind of retested a little bit that all-time high at about 215 satoshis, it did explode much higher. Currently it's breaking above the 50-day moving average once again, and although it doesn't look very bullish, I wouldn't be surprised if it slowly makes a higher push against Bitcoin, even though Bitcoin might keep going lower for a bit. Okay, and the reason, in my opinion, is that it has already retested kind of this area, has found a little bit of support, and it does remind me a little bit of Theta. Okay, I don't want to make this video about Theta, but there would always be some of those coins that actually have a strong dip and then they do hold and maybe come all the way back, because those platforms like Theta and some other ones, like I said on the previous video, when they have something special and something different, there might be some of those tokens that actually do a lot better, because Theta also had that massive base, of course, that lasted much longer. It was obviously much stronger and more intense, more special. But Theta could actually keep on going higher, because even from this level, it didn't really pump all that much. It was just, let's say, a 300-400% gain. But for Theta and the way the chart is looking and this base, this could continue higher, and I wouldn't really say no if that happens to Chiliz as well, because again, they are special platforms, they are very interesting, and potentially we might have some appreciation because some of these might be undervalued. Okay, I would suggest that you guys go back and watch the previous video on Polkadot and Solana, because I did explain several of these concepts in that video as well. Now, if Chiliz turns out to be like this, it could pump all the way here. Now, if it starts losing the 50-day moving average again, maybe it goes down, Theta goes down and Chiliz goes down. Because when I look at it, at least versus the dollar, it doesn't look as healthy. Okay, right now it's below the 50-day moving average. It just tested it. It has that, that resistance level right there from the broken support. And there is a pretty big gap all the way down there, because remember guys, a lot of these projects went up way too much. Chiliz had that very interesting breakout here and here at about 0.02 cents and at about 0.03 cents, and then from that level on it actually went up by about 30x. So although it might go up a little bit, in my opinion, in the short term, it's probably gonna go lower. Now again, I don't know if they're gonna have any regulatory issues. I assume that they're gonna be fine. I don't really think they will have any problems, because of course, why would Coinbase list them if they would have any major issues? But you know, it's just something to keep something in mind, because I don't really know how these tokenized things are gonna go, because I don't really know what they represent. And maybe some of these people might want to protect the funds until there is some clarity as to what these things are doing, and they are more like certified by certain regulators. Because if these things turn to be more like stocks in the company, then that might be very, very different. They might need a different treatment. Again, that's my speculation. Maybe it's a bit far-fetched. I'm just letting you know some of my thoughts right now. So of course, it doesn't look too bad, but of course it has gone up so much that I wouldn't be surprised if we have a major dip before it goes higher again. But the dip might actually come from Bitcoin dumping rather than actually Chiliz dumping versus Bitcoin. So it might be more that that token actually doing well versus Bitcoin, but not doing well versus the dollar, which is possible, like we saw with Theta and we have seen with other coins as well. And of course, the Coinbase listing does give it a boost in the short term, so we might even get an interesting spike and then it might just go down again, because I would never be surprised if we just see something like this pump right here that we saw on April 17th. So I wouldn't be surprised if we go all the way up to, let's say, 50 cents and then go all the way back down again. You know, crypto has a low volatility, so such pumps shouldn't be considered as anything weird. Now, the next one, guys, I want to talk about Shiba Inu. I'm going to leave the KEaNu network as last, because there are some extra information that I want to give you guys. And I'm actually surprised by how well this one has held. Although it might sound very, very weird, it's very, very interesting that a coin that was actually dumped so hard by Vitalik to hold so well. Okay, I would have expected it to just pretty much go to zero, because this coin had pumped so much and then Vitalik started dumping a lot of it and then everything else crashed. So for this coin to be down 88% when pretty much every coin is already down also about 70 to 80%, that's a little weird. Okay, maybe I'm kind of exaggerating by saying that the rest are down as much. Of course, the larger coins aren't, but for a coin that has pumped so much like Shiba Inu and actually reached about $10 billion worth of market cap, and it's just a little, it's an interesting coin. I'm not gonna say it's a scam or anything like it, but you know, I'm kind of struggling to see what the use case is, what it's actually going to do and all that stuff. You know, I believe in the power of memes and the power of communities, but I have to kind of be a little more cynical and kind of more objective, I should say, when it comes to memes, because you know, it's something that it's not actually valuable in itself. Like, it doesn't really provide a certain service. Of course, we see a lot of useless things in the crypto sphere and a lot of scams. So, and of course, we have to also remember that valuations are very, very subjective. It's always something to keep in mind, because something might be useful and can still dump 90-95% because of all the cycles and the psychology in the market and potentially competitors as well. But the main takeaway I should say is, yes, the listing on Coinbase would help. It's a pretty much a stamp that this is not a scam, and potentially Vitalik wouldn't dump on people now that it's actually listed on Coinbase. Maybe he's done dumping and things are changing, but overall I should say that be careful with this coin. But now that's relatively cheap compared to how expensive it used to be. Maybe there is some follow through on this little pump that it has had since it got listed on Coinbase, because like I said, with some of the other coins, you know, Shiba Inu has gotten some pretty big listings. It got actually listed pretty much on every exchange while it was at the top. It actually topped and then it got listed on exchanges, or while it was topping, it was starting to get more and more listings at the time. So as you can see here, at least that was the all-time high on Binance. Then it tried to make another push higher, and then we had that pretty big drop due to Vitalik, and then we had the collapse due to the actual market collapse of all cryptocurrencies. But for Shiba Inu to hold this level and to have this little interesting formation right here, this looks relatively bullish. I wouldn't say too bullish, but to me it could easily come all the way up to 1,500, let's say, satoshis. I don't know how to explain this in cents, but you can see this level right here, because it's not in milli satoshis or whatever that is, millicents or whatever. You know, it can come all the way up to this level, because this is going to be the strongest resistance, and a lot of it will depend on how this will progress, on whether, you know, Bitcoin is going to go up or Bitcoin is going to go down, because currently the market is kind of in a weird spot, because Bitcoin hasn't really taken a certain direction. There is a ton of resistance for Bitcoin above, and Shiba Inu might just be one of those coins that do well during the bear market, because we have seen AMP do well, and I'm going to talk about it in the next video. And we also have seen some other coins that I have mentioned, like Quant, which I'm going to also talk about in the next one. But overall, I do believe there will be a few coins that do very well. You just have to be more careful when picking those. You must have some fundamental catalysts, like an addition to Coinbase Pro. But remember, once again, when something gets listed on Coinbase Pro or even Binance or anything during a bear market, it's probably going to dump pretty soon. But after that, it's definitely something to keep in mind, because you might want to be buying that coin once things start bottoming out, either versus the dollar or versus Bitcoin. Now, the final one, guys, it's a very interesting one, which is the KEaNu network. Why? Because KEaNu network is going to have a merger with the NuCypher community, and they're going to name it KEaNu, which is key from keep, A, and Nu, which is like and NuCypher, which is going to be the KEaNu protocol, KEaNu network. I don't know what they're gonna name it after that, but it's going to be on Ethereum. KEaNu network is actually a project where it allows for tokenized Bitcoin on Ethereum in a kind of a decentralized way, or actually distributed way, I should say. And NuCypher is a pretty interesting protocol on top of Ethereum, which has to do with data and so on. So when these things merge, in my opinion, I don't know how exactly this is going to happen and at kind of what ratio, because the prices are fluctuating. There are different market caps. So we can check the market caps right here and actually look at the charts as well, because the KEaNu network, the chart, the most interesting chart for this one is on CoinTrader Pro, because actually it doesn't really trade on Coinbase or Binance yet, and it has had that very big capitulation over here. And you can see also that it had been trading before and it didn't really pump during this alt season. It just had a massive capitulation. So potentially in the next alt season, when things merge, this could have a very big run. I mean, the whole merger is going to have a big run, because it's going to be very special. And of course, I have to mention and talk about the NuCypher protocol, the NuCypher network, because it's going to be a very interesting merger, and we have to know what that price is doing, the price of that token is doing as well. So let's have a look at the USD price as well before we do that, because at least versus Bitcoin, it's been forming an interesting base. Versus the dollar, it's looking like an interesting sideways movement, but I don't really feel that it's actually complete yet. Okay, I don't really feel that this is ready to just skyrocket, because I don't know, it just doesn't really feel ready, because we had the announcement on Coinbase and it's dumping. And like with many other coins, here's the interesting thing, guys. This was rallying before it was actually announced on Coinbase, and we have seen these rallies over and over again. Okay, we've seen people buying because there is some insider news. And this is, of course, since KEaNu network was listed on Kraken, and it found some resistance over here, and it could continue higher, at least versus Bitcoin. But versus the dollar, it just looks a little bit tricky, and I wouldn't be surprised if some people kept buying back then. But it has almost doubled since that mini rally. At least it had doubled, and now it's kind of correcting. And that's one other thing, guys. If you see a coin have a special chart, it's looking different and it's kind of going against the rest of the market, that's what you want to be looking at right now. At least if you want to find stuff, don't buy stuff that have pumped a lot, because they will reverse quickly. And by a lot, I mean a 2x when alts in the bear market, either versus Bitcoin or versus the dollar. It's probably good enough for now, because remember, alts are going to give most of the returns in bursts, and they won't really give them just sporadically so easily. So whatever you can take from these coins, it's good enough. Just be more patient and just don't put way too much on just a few trades. So the other thing that I want to talk about is the NuCypher chart for now, because NuCypher doesn't really look as great right now. NuCypher got listed on Binance a few days or a few weeks ago. It was also listed on Huobi, which means that KEaNu is going to be added on those as well because of the merger, of course. So I don't really understand exactly how the merger is going to happen and how it's going to affect the listings on other exchanges, or whether the tokens are going to exist or not. So if you want, you can just leave a comment down below to let me know what you think or how you think things are going to play out. But of course, KEaNu is going to benefit from the double liquidity. Now, this doesn't look as great because I was kind of hoping that this would just go sideways a little bit, but because of that pump, it didn't really happen. So who knows, maybe it comes down to about 4,000 Satoshis and then it pumps again. It will have an interesting full cycle and then up again, because this interesting double or triple top at this level right here, to me, tells me that this could have more upside potential, especially after the merger, because both projects are going to get a lot of attention due to the fact that it's the first real big merger. I think there have been some smaller ones potentially, but this is the first real big merger of two big projects actually coming together to form an alliance, to form one token. So that's it from me, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please remember to like, share and subscribe. Please click the bell icon so that you can get more notifications about videos like this. This is not the last video, guys, because I'm going to make another one. I'm going to talk about Bitcoin, AMP and Quant. This is going to be a more interesting analysis about some of the coins that I have talked about quite a bit, at least on Twitter and TradingView, and also on Telegram, where you can, of course, follow me to get more quick updates. So once again, guys, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.